The first time I noticed the cabinet open, I blamed myself. It was the narrow one above the sink, where I kept coffee, tea, and a few chipped mugs. I remember closing it before work because one hinge squeaked. When I came home that evening, it was open by about 6 inches. Nothing was missing. The apartment looked normal, so I shut it and moved on. 2 days later, it happened again. This time, the cabinet beneath the counter was open too. I lived alone on the 3rd floor of an older building. The front door had a deadbolt, the windows locked properly, and there were no signs of forced entry. My landlord, Mr. Ellis, had a key. That was the only explanation I could think of. I texted him and asked whether he had entered the apartment. He replied, "No, why?" I told him about the cabinets. He sent a laughing emoji, then wrote, "Maybe you forgot." That night, I placed a thin strip of clear tape across the edge of the cabinet in the wall. If the door opened, the tape would tear. The next morning, it was intact. When I returned from work, the tape was broken. The cabinet was closed. That was worse. Someone had opened it, then remembered to close it. I checked the kitchen and noticed a glass in the drying rack. I had not used one that morning. There was still a faint ring of water inside it. I called Mr. Ellis. He insisted he had not been there. He said the only other copy of the key was kept in a lockbox inside the ground floor maintenance room. I asked who had access. Only him and the handyman. The handyman had been in hospital for almost 2 weeks. Mr. Ellis promised to change the locks the following day. He never came. I waited until late afternoon, then bought a small, battery-powered camera and placed it on top of the refrigerator, angled toward the kitchen and front door. For 2 days, nothing happened. On the 3rd day, at 2:14 in the afternoon, my phone vibrated while I was at work. Motion detected. The image loaded slowly. At first, I saw only my empty kitchen. Then, a man stepped into frame. He wore jeans, a gray sweatshirt, and a dark baseball cap. He entered through the front door using a key. He did not look around like someone breaking in. He walked straight to the kitchen. He opened the cabinet, took down one of my mugs, and filled it with water. Then he opened the refrigerator and stood there, studying the shelves. I called the police. While I spoke to the dispatcher, the camera showed him move toward the hallway leading to my bedroom. She asked whether I recognized him. I did not. Then the man turned toward the camera. He had noticed the green light. He stepped closer, reached up, and the video went black. Police arrived before I did. They found the apartment empty, but my bedroom closet had been opened and several drawers pulled out. Nothing valuable seemed to be missing. The front door was locked. Whoever had entered still had a key. Officers searched the maintenance room and found the lockbox hanging open. Inside were labeled copies of keys for every apartment. Mine was missing. The rear entrance camera showed the same man entering several times over the previous month. Mr. Ellis recognized him. His name was Daniel. He was Mr. Ellis's nephew. Daniel had helped with maintenance work the previous summer, but tokens complained that he entered apartments without notice. Mr. Ellis claimed he had banned him from the building and believed he had returned every key. He had not changed the lockbox code. Police found Daniel 2 days later sleeping in an empty basement unit that was being renovated. Inside were clothes, food, building keys, and small personal items taken from different apartments. Most were things people might not notice immediately. A scarf, a charger, medication, a framed photograph. From my apartment, he had taken a spare key from a bedroom drawer. That meant, even if the landlord changed the lock, Daniel could still enter if I assumed the old key no longer mattered. He had already made himself another copy. Daniel was arrested for burglary and unlawful entry. Several tenants came forward afterward with stories they had dismissed. Food going missing, showers left damp, furniture slightly moved, lights turned off. Mr. Ellis replaced every lock in the building after the tenants threatened legal action. I moved out when my lease ended. The cabinet door itself had never mattered. It was just the one habit Daniel could not stop repeating. He liked to drink from the same mug each time he entered. And if that hinge had not squeaked loudly enough for me to remember closing it, I might never have known someone had been spending parts of his day inside my apartment. I heard the shower before I got the door open. It was just after 7 in the evening, and I had both hands full with groceries. My apartment was at the end of the 3rd floor hallway, so there was nowhere else the sound could be coming from. Water, hitting tile. Steady. Loud. I stood there with my key halfway into the lock, trying to remember whether I had left it on that morning. I had not. I lived alone. The bathroom was across from the front door, and when I stepped inside, warm air was drifting into the hallway. I put the groceries down and called out. No answer. The shower kept running. The bathroom door was nearly closed. I backed out and called my downstairs neighbor, Tasha. She came up with her husband, who carried a tire iron from his car. He pushed the bathroom door open and pulled back the shower curtain. No one was there. The tub was empty, but the water was hot enough to fog the mirror. A damp towel lay on the floor, and the bath mat had been moved. Tasha asked whether maintenance had entered. That was the first explanation that made sense. My landlord had said plumbers might need access to inspect a leak in the building. I had told him I would not be home during the day. I called him immediately. He said the inspection had been postponed, and no one had entered my unit. Then he asked, "Was the deadbolt locked when you came home?" It had been. The front door had a standard lock and a separate deadblobs. Both worked with the same key, but the deadbolt could only be turned from outside with one. Whoever had entered had locked the apartment behind them. We checked every room. Nothing looked stolen. My laptop, jewelry, and cash were all there. But the bedroom window was open by about an inch. I never opened it. The frame was warped, and once raised, it was difficult to close. The fire escape ran directly below it. Police searched the apartment and roof access, but found no one. An officer suggested someone may have entered through the window, used the shower, then left the same way. That did not explain the deadbolt, unless they had also used the door. I stayed with Tasha that night. The landlord changed the locks the next morning and installed a camera above the building entrance. I bought 2 cameras for inside my apartment. One faced the front door, the other covered the hallway and bathroom. For nearly a week, nothing happened. Then, while I was at work, I received a motion alert. The hallway camera showed my bathroom door opening. No one entered the frame. The door simply moved inward a few inches. Then steam began drifting into the hall. The shower had turned on again. I called the police and my landlord. This time, officers arrived while the water was still running. The apartment was empty. The front door was locked. The bedroom window was closed. But one officer noticed water beside the toilet. A thin line of droplets led toward the wall behind it. The landlord insisted there was nothing there except plumbing. He was wrong. The bathroom had been renovated before I moved in. Behind a narrow storage cabinet was an access panel painted to match the wall. It opened into a service space between my apartment and the vacant unit next door. The gap was barely wide enough for a person, but someone had removed the insulation and created a path between the 2 bathrooms. The vacant unit was supposed to be locked. Inside, police found a mattress, food containers, bottled water, and bags of clothes. They also found photographs, pictures of my kitchen, my bedroom, the inside of my bathroom cabinet. Most had been taken while I was away. One had not. It showed me asleep on the sofa. The man living there was a former maintenance assistant. He had been fired after tenants complained about missing items, but the landlord never collected all of his keys. He had been entering empty units and hiding inside them. When he discovered the plumbing access connected to my bathroom, he began using my apartment while I was at work. The shower was not a mistake. Police believed he turned it on because he heard me unlocking the door and needed noise to cover the access panel closing. The first time, he escaped through the wall before I entered the bathroom. The second time, he may have been testing whether I had discovered it. He was arrested 2 days later after returning to the building at night. I moved out before the end of the month. I still think about how close I came to walking into that bathroom alone. At the time, the running shower felt like proof that someone was inside. The truth was worse. Someone had been inside for months. The first time I noticed the key was missing, I assumed my landlord had used it. He kept a spare inside a small magnetic box beneath the metal staircase behind the building. It was meant for emergencies, although every tenant knew it was there. I only checked because I had locked myself out. The box was empty. I called Mr. Palmer, my landlord, and he came over with his master key. He seemed irritated when I told him the spare was gone. He said he had not touched it. Then, while we were standing behind the building, he reached beneath the staircase and pulled the box from a different spot. It had been moved about 3 feet to the left. The key was still inside. Mr. Palmer blamed the vibration from people using the stairs. That made no sense. The magnet was strong enough that I had to pull hard to remove it. But I was embarrassed about locking myself out, so I let it go. A week later, I checked again. The box had moved. This time it was attached beneath the landing above, somewhere no one could reach without climbing onto a trash bin. I took the key out and brought it to Mr. Palmer. He looked genuinely worried. He said he would stop keeping a spare outside and put it in his office instead. That should have ended it. It did not. 2 days later, I came home and found the chain on my front door hanging loose. The chain was not broken. One screw had been backed almost completely out of the frame. At first, I thought the wood had split. Then I noticed fresh scratches around the screw head. Someone had been removing it carefully. Nothing inside looked disturbed, but my bedroom window was unlocked. I lived on the second floor. The window opened above the same rear staircase where the spare key had been hidden. I called Mr. Palmer. He checked his office and said the key was still in his desk. Then he paused and told me something he should have mentioned earlier. The key I had returned was not the original. It looked identical, but the stamp on the head was different. Someone had taken the landlord's key, copied it, and put another one back in the box. Mr. Palmer changed my locks that evening. He also changed the rear entrance lock and installed a camera above the staircase. For 3 nights, nothing happened. On the 4th, the camera recorded a man entering the yard at 1:18 in the morning. He wore a dark jacket and baseball cap. He walked straight to the staircase, reached beneath the bottom step, then checked the landing above. When he did not find the key, he looked up toward my bedroom window. Then he took something from his pocket and climbed the stairs. The camera angle did not show my door. At 1:21, my hallway camera sent an alert. Someone was trying a key in the lock. I was awake. I heard the metal scraping, then the quiet click of the deadbolt turning halfway before stopping. The new key did not fit. The person tried again. Then he knocked softly, 3 times. I called the police and stayed silent. The man knocked again, then said my first name. Not loudly, almost like he was checking whether I was asleep. When he heard sirens, he ran. Police caught him behind a row of garages 2 blocks away. His name was Marcus, and I had seen him before. He worked for a company that had replaced the building's smoke detectors 6 months earlier. Mr. Palmer had given the crew temporary access to several apartments, including mine. Marcus had been fired shortly afterward. Inside his backpack, police found lockpicks, a screwdriver, a flashlight, and copies of keys labeled with apartment numbers. There were 4 keys with my number. One opened my old lock. The investigation showed that Marcus had been returning to buildings where he had once worked. He knew which landlords hid spares, which entrances lacked cameras, and which tenants lived alone. He would remove the spare, make copies, then return a replacement so nobody realized it had been gone. He did not steal much at first. Small amounts of cash, medication, spare electronics, things people might blame on themselves. But police believed he had started entering apartments while people were home. In one building, a woman woke to find her bedroom door open. In another, a tenant found a chair positioned beside his bed. Marcus never explained why he had loosened my door chain or tried my lock at 1 a.m. He pleaded guilty to burglary and unlawful entry. Mr. Palmer stopped using outdoor lockboxes after that. I moved when my lease ended. The strange part is that I had always thought the spare key made the building safer. If someone got locked out, there was a simple solution. But once a person knew where that key was kept, every apartment it opened became vulnerable. And the first warning was not a broken window or a forced door. It was a little black box that kept appearing in the wrong place.